Hello again, everybody. Red of Half Century Collecting Sports Cards with another episode showing some of my favorite cards. These were the cards we showed last week. The 32 U.S. Caramel, Mickey Cochran, the T205, Joe Tinker, the Diamond Star, Kyler, 57 Tops, the Big Biceps, Ted Klaczewski, and the Cool 71 in action card of Thurman Munson, also showing a 1971 pack. And today we are going to go back to 1936 and start out with the card from the regular Goudey set. Now that year there were the Goudey premiums with the wide pen that were a little bit bigger. These were pretty standard issue cards, and this is a Big Poison Paul Wainer, who burst on the scene hitting .336 with 22 triples in his 1926 rookie season. Then the next year hit .380 to lead the league. Also led the league in hits with 237, 18 triples, and a league-leading 131 RBIs. In that 1927 season, just his second year in the league, he led the Pirates to the World Series, but unfortunately they ran into the 27 Yankees. But he did hit .333 in that World Series, even though they lost it in 4 straight, and he was the National League MVP. Now, he kept going to become the greatest right fielder in Pirates history until a certain Roberto Clemente came along, but he had a 62 double season, 1932, 8 seasons of 200 or more hits, including this 1936 season, where he won his third batting title, hitting .373. You can see the back of the card. Talk a little bit about some of his exploits, including that great 1927 season. He became just the 7th player in Major League history to collect 3,000 hits, and he finished his career in 1945 with 605 doubles, 191 triples, a .333 career batting average, and 74.7 WAR. Paul Big Poison Wainer of the Pittsburgh Pirates. All right, next we are going to go back in time a little bit further to an old Cleveland star. This is his 1911 T206 with the sweet caporal back that you see there. One of the best second basemen of all time, and that is Napoleon Lajoie, also called Nap Lajoie, for which the Cleveland franchise got its nickname, the Cleveland Naps, for a while. Now, he's another 3,000 hit guy, and he was in the second ever Hall of Fame class in 1937, one of the all-time greats. Led the league in WAR 6 times, batting average 5 times, including a 1901 season when he hit .426, leading the Philadelphia Athletics. Then for the next 12 years was with Cleveland. Now, besides being a terror of a hitter, he was a really good defensive second baseman. When he retired in 1916, he was one of the few 100-plus WAR guys, finishing his career with 107 career WAR. Nap Lajoie. All right, next we are going to go to 1952, and this is his Bowman card. The heater from Van Meter, or Rapid Robert, Bob Feller from Van Meter, Iowa, burst on to the major league scene at the age of 17 after his junior year of high school in 1936. And that season, in fact, his first start, struck out 15 batters, had a later start that year where he tied a major league record of 17 strikeouts in a game. And he finished the year with 76 strikeouts in 62 innings. So 11 strikeouts per 9 in an era when the average was about 3 or 4. He threw hard. And the next year was his senior year in high school, and ended up graduating from high school, but didn't pitch a ton of innings that year. But by age 19, he ended up leading the league in strikeouts with 240. He also had 208 walks to lead the league. Then at age 20, he won 24 games, had a 9.2 WAR, again led the league in strikeouts. Next year, age 21, he goes 27-11 with 9.9 WAR. Age 22, he goes 25-13. All those years, he's leading the league in strikeouts, and that was 1941. And then the next 4 years, he enlisted in the Navy, and he said in fact, he was the first major league player to enlist in the military during World War II. He said he didn't want to just be one of those ball players who just plays ball on the side the whole time. He wanted to fight. He was aboard the USS Alabama for that whole time. And then after his tour in the Navy, comes back, 1946, his first full year, goes 26-15 with 36 complete games, 10 shutouts, 10 WAR, and at the time they figured a 20th century high of 348 strikeouts. Now Rube Waddell had 344, but they later recalculated it, and they had missed 5, so he came out with 349, which was ahead of Feller's 348. And then before that 1947 season, so major leagues had not yet been integrated, but he got together with Satchel Paige, and they set up this barnstorming tour. Feller with a bunch of white players and Paige with a bunch of black players in the Negro Leagues. Barnstormed 22 games, and they said in that time, all the players, both the Negro Leaguers and the American and National Leaguers, made more money in those 22 games than they made in their regular season. So they were pretty innovative. Then 47, Major League color barrier is broken. And in 1948, Feller ends up helping the Indians to it's their last World Series title. He, somewhere in there, I think it was 46 in that big 348 strikeout season. The commissioner came up with his grand plan to see how fast Feller was actually throwing. So he raced a motorcycle. The motorcycle was going like 89 miles an hour when it passed Feller, and then Feller wound up and threw, and by the time the ball got 60 feet 6 inches away, the ball actually beat the motorcycle. And with calculations, later calculations, they figured that ball had to have been going 104 miles an hour. So he definitely had some speed on his ball, which is why he racked up all those strikeouts. Ted Williams, Dan Musial, both said he was the best pitcher of that era, and definitely threw the hardest. His arm kind of gave out a little bit after he had a back injury later, so he wasn't throwing as hard late in his career. In fact, by this 52 season, his career was nowhere near the same. He did have a little resurgence in 1954, where he went 13-3 and helped the Indians to the World Series, but they ended up losing. That was the series when Willie Mays made that famous run to the fence basket catch. In his career, 3 no-hitters and 12 one-hitters. The great Bob Feller was one of the most famous guys early in his career as a teenager. In fact, when he was young, they said the only person who might have been famous at that age was Shirley Temple. It was more famous. All right, we got one more card we're going to show. These are a little longer showings, and this is a strip card. This is one of my favorite strip cards, maybe my favorite strip card that I have, just because I think it actually shows a pretty good picture of George Sisler, has good color, it's well cut, and this is his 1921 W551 card. Now there were a few guys that were really St. Louis Brown stars, but Sisler was one of them. He started his major league career as a pitcher in 1915. In fact, that year he had a game where he beat Walter Johnson 2-1, throwing a complete game. The next season, he actually shut out Walter Johnson's team, winning 1-0. He only won 5 games in his major league career, but 2 of them were complete game wins against Walter Johnson. But they were seeing that Sisler was a lot more talented as a hitter than he was as a pitcher, so he became their regular first baseman in 1916, and he ended up with quite a career hitting. Led the league in WAR a couple of times, triples a couple of times, stolen bases 4 times. And in 1920, so the year basically this card was made, of that 1920 season, he set the hit record, 257 career hits. And remember when Ichiro broke the record with 262, this is the man whose record he broke, George Sisler. That year, Sisler hit 407, and 2 years later, he hit 420. That year had 246 hits and was the AL MVP. In his career, over 2,800 hits, a 340 lifetime batting average, 375 stolen bases too, and a 57.2 WAR. And he actually held the American League game hit streak for 19 years with a 41 game hit streak until a guy named Joe DiMaggio came along and broke it with 56. So that's it for today. We're just going to do those 4. Some pretty cool looking cards, I think. Thanks for watching, everybody. And for all you going to Strongsville, have a great time. Wish I could be there. I will be coaching some high school baseball, and we're going to get our first games in next week. So I'm pretty excited about that. 3 scheduled games. And I think the weather is finally going to be there where we'll get them in. We had 2 canceled last week due to northern Minnesota snow that hit and some cold temperatures. But things are looking much better this week. So we'll see y'all later.